Welcome to Living Ardently. I'm your host, Adrian Giraldi, and we are back with another episode of a new friend that I made through our Instagram world that we live in. So I'm really excited to bring her on. So we'll get right into it after this. Let's get into it. How do you do that? I don't remember. All right, let's go. So today's guest is a fashion blogger, like I said, a Catholic Instagram influencer, and recently she spilled coffee over a customer at her new job. You can follow her account at Just a Handmaiden. Please welcome Lizzy from Just Another Handmaiden.
Hey.
Hey, welcome. Want to share a little bit about that story that I just mentioned?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I just started a job as a barista literally last week, and it was about the third coffee I was handing out. And you know how sometimes coffee spurts out through the top of the hole with your to-go cup? It literally spurted out just as I was handing it to this girl and just went across all of her white sweatpants. They were brand new. She had just gotten them. And she was I could tell she was trying to be so nice, but she was clearly so upset. And I was mortified because it was the third coffee I'd handed someone. Right. And we had to give her a free drink, and she had to go home and change before her work. And I was absolutely mortified. So that was really fun. Humbling.
Humbling for sure. I never wear, besides t-shirts, I never wear anything white because it's just dangerous.
It's a dangerous game. I know. It is a
dangerous game. And here we are, all both wearing white. It's amazing.
Literally, yeah.
That's hilarious. So we're going to play some quick rapid fire questions to kind of get everything started like we always do with our guests. And I'm going to see if I can stump you on some of these.
All right,
let's go. All right. Ariel or Jasmine?
Ariel, because I've loved the ocean, and I've always wanted to be a mermaid since I was a child.
Yes. First celebrity crush.
Okay. Did you ever watch Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Yeah. Okay. I'm watching Korra right now.
Me too. I'm literally watching Korra. So good. Literally so good. Prince Zuko end of season 2. And season 3, Prince Zuko. That's not really a celebrity. That's a cartoon, but that was my first crush. Yeah, long hair Zuko. And then probably the earliest I can remember is Zac Efron from High School Musical.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the first real human. But Prince Zuko was the OG for sure.
I mean, yeah. Everyone had who was it? What cartoon character was it? We were talking about it with some friends. Oh man, I forget. Oh, it was so funny. It was just let's just say it's Kimberly from the Power Rangers. I was talking with some friends, and we all had agreed that this was our first cartoon crush, and it was, was it Jasmine? I don't remember. It was
I wouldn't be shocked if it was Jasmine.
It was just so funny.
Stunning.
It was let's do one that's actual human being, and then we all honestly said Pink Kimberly from the Power Rangers.
That was my brother's as well.
Really?
Yeah.
You got it. So that's funny. Yeah, Prince Zuko. So I just started season 2 of Korra. Or no, I'm
Me too.
I'm at the end. I'm at the end of it.
I think I'm right before she just is entering the spirit world. Anyways, this is not important, but excited about it.
But we'll talk about it later. Favorite junk food?
Takis. The chip.
Takis? They're
Takis.
Buy one, get one free at my store. Takis, the hot ones?
Yes. My sister's pregnant right now, and so we're both doing a Takis fast for her entire pregnancy, and it's one of the hardest things I've ever done.
That is so hard.
Yeah, it's torture.
Mine is I like the
Flaming hot Cheetos.
The flaming hot not the Cheetos, the Chesters.
Oh.
The fries. Yeah.
I mean, I don't agree, but I get it. Still, I'll take it if there's nothing else.
Right. I don't know why. It was just I don't know. Anyway, favorite childhood TV show?
Probably either Avatar: The Last Airbender, or I loved SpongeBob and Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
Yes, Sweet Life. That's the way. Okay. What is your favorite number?
Ooh, goes back and forth between 3 and 7.
Ooh, those are good numbers.
Thank you. Both numbers of perfection in the Bible.
Right.
I hate myself.
Honestly.
Anyway, keep going.
Mine is 13 because Jesus was. I keep on saying I don't usually say mine, but I just like love the explanation. So like 13 because it's Jesus 12 and him. So like it's 13. I don't know. It's never like a number in the Bible basically, but I just like love it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Puppies or cats?
Both. Probably puppies, but cats are solo maintenance and they just come to you when they want love, so it's hard.
It's hard.
But probably puppies.
If Voldemort offered you a hug, would you accept it?
Voldemort? Nah.
No.
Back off.
Name one of the 7 dwarfs.
Dopey.
Yeah, that's the one that's forgotten. What's for dinner tonight?
I think we're getting pizza, but unconfirmed. I was just texting my family about this before we got on the call, actually.
Favorite type of tea?
Tea? Black or... well, there's one specific brand that I'm really obsessed with, and that's really good recently. It's called August LA Tea. Highly recommended. Anything they do, but their black teas are awesome.
Have you ever seen a kangaroo in person?
No.
If you're really hungry, would you eat a bug?
I actually have eaten a bug before.
Ooh,
At like
really?
a zoo, they like
What
roasted
kind?
it and they put like barbecue flavoring on it. I have no
Wow.
clue what kind of bug it was. I mean, like, if I was in the wild and I was dying, I'd for sure eat bugs. You know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah.
I'd do it. I'm saying. I mean, have you watched Lion King?
Yeah. Seems
Lion
good.
King they made it look so good and yummy.
I know. I also like low-key really want to be on the show Survivor, so
Oh,
I feel like you just gotta figure it out.
Was that Survivor? Or is that the one where they had like the really gross challenge? No, Fear Factor.
That's Fear Factor. Never want to be on that show. Ever.
2 different shows. 2 different kinds.
Drastically different.
If there's a spider in our house, do you kill it or set it on fire?
Kill it?
Kill it or set it free. Sorry. I read
Sorry.
it wrong.
Oh, I was like, what?
I read it wrong. Because I would
was like-
set it on fire.
I mean, normally I kill it, but I feel a little bad about it. So,
Yeah.
but I'm like, sorry, you're in my home.
Goodbye.
Squish.
What's something you could eat for a week straight?
Ooh. Something I could eat for a week straight. Sushi or acai bowls. That's like the most
yummy.
like Californian response, but here I am.
Much so. Dark chocolate, milk chocolate.
Dark chocolate, like through and through.
Polka dots or stripes?
Stripes.
Movie alone? Would you go to the movie alone?
Oh, yes. I love
the
going to
time.
movie theaters alone. Oh, sorry, you didn't finish the sentence.
No, it is. It's right. No.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't say it right. So it's just like correcting myself. Because I only read parts of the sentence.
Yeah, I love going to the movie theater alone. I did a
That's
lot in
awesome.
college.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I didn't have friends who liked movies at first. No, I moved over here in Orlando, and I was like, wait, like, I don't have anybody to go to movies with, so I started going to movies by myself, and it's the best thing ever.
It's so good.
Although, like, I want to talk about the movie often afterwards, and there's nobody to talk to it about. Anyway.
Yep.
Would you rather eat smoky ganache or some delicious fish?
I don't even know what ganache is.
I think I spelled that wrong. Gnoche.
Ganache is a word. I know it's a food.
Is that a ganache? Is that how you say that?
Yeah, ganache is a
G-N-O?
food. I just don't remember what it actually is. Do you know
Or is
what I
it
mean?
gnocchi?
No, it's or gnocchi.
Gnocchi?
It's probably
G-N-O.
like the Italian pasta. Oh yeah, that's a gnocchi.
Oh, I don't know how to spell. I don't know how to
I love-
pronounce things.
Yeah, gnocchi is like an Italian pasta made out of like potatoes. It's really good. Actually, I would choose gnocchi. My grandma taught us how to make it from
I'm
scratch.
down for whatever because I don't know that. I didn't know. Do you like Disneyland?
Love it.
Disneyland or Disney World?
I've never actually been to Disney World, so but also Disneyland did come first, so I am a little biased.
But we don't have Epcot. We have Epcot.
Good point. And your Star Wars world is like, it's a little bit.
You guys have the same one, I think.
No, I think you guys have like 2 or 3 more rides, but that's who's counting.
Oh, we do have one more ride. We do. You know. Favorite clothing brand?
Ooh. I shop a lot at Madewell and Everlane. And thrift shops.
Thrift shops are the way. Okay.
This is the way.
Last question. If you could push a button and make everyone in the world 7% happier, but it would also place a worldwide ban on all hair products, would you push it?
Yeah. I don't. What?
I've seen people struggle at that question, like hair products.
I don't put any product in my hair. My hair is it air dries.
Air dries. And
yeah.
Doesn't get any heat protection.
Although shampoo, like, does that include like shampoo and conditioner or like styling products? Oh.
Oh no, it says hair styling products.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, then absolutely.
That's amazing.
Ban on all hair products.
Now we know you a little bit better, but let's get to know you a bit more about your faith. So give us a little bit of your faith background.
Great question. So I was born and raised Catholic. I come from a Catholic family. My parents specifically didn't really start practicing until I was in like 4th or 5th grade. And before Mass was just something we did and no one liked it, even my parents. And then all of a sudden they were like going to daily Mass and we had like nighttime prayer and my whole family, like all of us kids were like, what's going on? And like found out our parents were going to daily Mass and they just got like super into it for some reason, which is awesome.
That's amazing.
So then it was just kind of like a roller coaster from there, of just like kind of like coming back into the faith. And I actually went to Catholic middle school, left the faith in Catholic middle school because it was kids are so mean. And then I went to public high school and started to come back into the faith through like the really cool Protestant kids. There's a lot of really cool non-denominational Christians and I wanted to be their friends. And so I started hanging out with them and pretending I knew Jesus. And then I don't know, they did a really great job of like teaching me the person of Jesus and teaching me like how to have a relationship with him. But I would always leave Christian events unsatisfied, especially when they were on Sunday and they were services. Yeah. And so my mom actually had me go back on a Catholic retreat, which was a Life Teen retreat, of course. Nice. And so it was just this like awesome kind of conversion moment where I realized that like that lacking that I felt in my heart was the Eucharist. And I realized how much I missed it. So that's where I started to get really back into my faith. And I kind of lived like a double life for a while. Like I had my high school life and I had my Jesus life. Yeah. And it wasn't really until like senior year of high school going into college that I kind of really started diving into my faith. So, and like that's not living that double life.
Yeah. I feel like it's so easy to when... Like, I had a similar thing when I was in high school. I was in a public high school, too. And, yeah, just so easy to, like, get into that mode of, like, oh, yeah, this is how I live when I'm here. And then, like, when I'm at youth group or at church, this is how I live. You know? And so I feel like part of the journey, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Learning about it yourself and learning about how to get to it. So, that's cool. And then you started... when you went to college, is this when you started your fashion blog?
Yeah. So actually, I started it because of a class. So I transferred to be a business major. I changed my major like 4 times freshman year of high school. Yes. And like landed on business. And my teacher was this incredible man who like was a Swiss Guard for John Paul II, like super holy dude, super great. And so he had us start this assignment where we like started like a blog where we had like affiliate links and sold stuff. So we like started our first business. And people always joke with me that like I dressed like a mom fashion blogger. And because I had like gone through this whole journey of like trying to learn how to dress modestly and fashionably, because I like love clothing so much, and I was not modest before. So then when this started, that was like the only idea that I could come up with. And so I went to him and I was like, it's not really like selling stuff, but I would be doing this blog. And he was just such a good man. And he was like, honestly, Lizzy, I think that the world needs this. And I'm okay with you like not really doing the assignment to start this blog. And this blog could kind of be your assignment. So that's how I started it.
Wow. Yeah. That's really cool. What a great like little backstory to that. Mm-hmm. That's so sweet. So was he like retired like Swiss Guard or?
Yeah. Yes, he was a huge man. So Swiss Guards, I mean, so you usually do a requirement of 4 years and then you can go on. His wife, usually when you get married, you retire often in the Swiss Guard. Fun fact. I mean, a lot of them stay, like some stay, but like most retire. And his wife was from America. So he retired and he did more business when he was pretty young. So,
That's really neat. Oh, I didn't know that about Swiss Guards. Well, the more you know.
The more you know.
So the passion behind learning how to live, being modest with your clothing came from just simply not doing it before?
Yeah, I think it was a lot of things. I mean, it started mostly because I would go to women's talks in high school and I hated them. Like I dreaded going to women's talks. For so many reasons, mostly because like the men would come back and have these cool like things that they did. They'd be like, man, and they would be like, and they like had, you know what I mean? And then the ladies were like, ladies, and I was like, I hated that. I hated it. And specifically because it felt like these men came back like united, and these men came back and like had experienced something. And women's talks, it was like so surface level of like, this is how you can like prepare your heart for marriage, or like dress modestly, or pretty much that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. Or like, it's okay to feel single, which is like, they're all good things, but they would talk about modesty and say we had to be modest, and then no one ever told us how. So it was like, am I just supposed to wear like a bag like over my body? Like, what does modesty mean? Like, how do you dress? Like, we aren't called to be of the world, but we are called to live in it. So like, how the heck do we do this? And so I kind of started my own journey when I finally got over myself, because I did dress immodestly for a really long time. So when I finally kind of overcame that hurdle, then it became this whole passion of, okay, well, I love fashion, and Jesus gave me this love for fashion, and I don't think I have to like throw that away to dress modestly. I think actually I can incorporate these two loves. And so after I spent a lot of time with a lot of trial and error, like learning how to be modest myself, I realized like there are so many girls, like I don't want other girls to have to go through 5 years of discovering modesty if I could just help them figure it out in a couple months or whatever, you know? So yeah.
I heard that I was listening to a talk from another Catholic speaker who said like, I didn't even realize that how I dress was immodest. Is that something, can you confirm or deny that? Is that something how you thought too?
Like, sorry, wait, real quick. You were saying you didn't even know if a dress was modest or not? Was that the question?
So she said that something along the lines that, you know, she was just dressing to dress, but she didn't know how she was dressing was immodest.
Yeah, I think that was a lot of what I experienced as a kid too, like, or in high school, especially because I grew up in Southern California and in a beach area. So like, everyone was wearing crop tops and the shortest shorts you could possibly wear, and that was just what everyone wore. So it wasn't even questioned, and I didn't grow up around really any examples of what modesty looks like besides like my mother, which I love my mother. She's a very fashionable woman, but I just like, she wasn't really my style icon when I was 14. So I think, I didn't really realize it was modest until all of a sudden I was like, these people at retreats were telling me I was dressing immodestly, and it almost felt like I was being attacked, and it was kind of weird and confusing. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to wear? This is like at the shops that people go to, this is what we buy. So there, that I definitely see where she was coming from in that regard.
Cool. Yeah, because it's interesting. You know, I work with teens. Like I said, most of the listeners know I'm a youth minister, and you know, right, I haven't seen my teens in person besides going to mass, but like whenever they like go to talks and stuff, and they hear this, and I wonder what's how they're feeling afterwards. And I usually am not leading their small group because they're ladies. I just wonder what impacts they come from it. It's like, do they know like that how some of they maybe that how they're dressing is immodest or something like that, you know? And so it's just really interesting to kind of see, you know, because
and I think, like, I'd almost got to a point now where, like, my youth ministry program at home, they don't even talk about modesty anymore because there has been such, like, a misunderstanding of what modesty is now because it was taught so poorly in the past. That's it's such a, like, a trigger word for women. Like, young girls, it's, like, anti-woman to talk about modesty. And so now, like, a lot of ministry programs aren't even bringing it up because it just riles women up so much. And they're like, okay, well, we don't want this to, like, turn a girl away, so we'll just talk about other stuff, which I think is interesting. Anyway, sorry, side tangent.
I think there's a prudent way to talk about it in a way to kind of encourage girls to do the same thing. And so that's why, like, whenever I get asked about that kind of stuff, I direct them towards Catholic Instagrammers who are living that out correctly, you know, and you're one of those Instagrammers that I toss them to, and because I mean, girls love I mean, regardless of what the girl is, you know, who the girl is or what age, like, fashion is sometimes, like, it plays a part in, like, I mean, obviously how you dress and what you pick, and everyone finds their style and their niche, right? Just like Billie Eilish's niche is not your niche, you know. You're not going to be rock hoodie, but she's also pretty modest, you know. I mean, really modest, you know, with how she dresses. But there's different ways, you know. You don't have to be in hoodies and baggy joggers all the time to be modest, you know, or wear a tarp, you know, like, you don't have to do any of those things. But yeah, so I love that, and so I love that you and a few other ladies that I can't think of off the top of my head are doing that for the girls, because I like, you know, I tell youth ministers all the like, who, you know, I'm friends with, like, I can only do so much for them. Like, they trust me, they, you know, respect me, and they come to me for advice, but I can only do so much as a male for them. You know, they need female role models, and if I can't provide those role models in person here at our parish, I'm gonna toss them through where they're on, you know, on Instagram. And so I tell my friends, like, there's no shame in directing them into good Instagram parts of Instagram. Absolutely. Just because the social media is predominantly, you know, things that are, I mean, maybe not predominantly, but, like, there's a lot of bad in the Instagram. There's a lot of good there too, you know.
Absolutely.
So thank you for doing what you do. So since you started, like, you know, the blog and the Instagram, has it kind of affected your relationship with Christ in a way? Like, has it make it stronger, or how's that work?
Yeah, I think it's had a huge impact on my prayer life, and just my relationship with God, because I think I'm realizing so much that, like, God gave me a lot of, like, gifts and passions and desires, and this is almost like this outlet for me to share those things and to, like, share, like, the gifts that he's given me with the women around me. So, like, I think it's been a huge thing, and that also it forms my prayer. Like, I put a lot of prayer into, like, what I post or what I say, and a lot of times what I say on my blog is just something that I got in prayer that day. And so it encourages me, because I've actually found that the less I pray, the less I have to post on Instagram, right? So then I'm like, oh shoot, I'm not posting as much, which means which is so funny, but it's like, I'm not getting as much engagement because I'm not posting. So I need to post more, but to post more, I need to pray more. And so it's almost like forcing, it's almost that, like, reminder to, like, continue in my habit of just daily prayer, because it's my habit of daily prayer that, like, fuels my blog. So it's almost like making prayer my job, which has kind of been really cool. So that's been really huge. And then just in general, like, the community of women that I've got to encounter from my blog has just been, like, life-changing. Like, the vulnerability that like women have in sharing with me and telling me things that like they haven't told anyone else. And then like just like seeing them experience Christ in a new way, or like experiencing them. Like I'm a huge theology nerd. And so like I love when I share things and people are like, I didn't know that's why the church believed that. That like changes how I feel. And so it's like, it almost encourages me to like continue learning about my faith and continuously like having the courage to share, which I think heals like my own wounds that like I'm sharing about. Yeah.
That's so beautiful, because it's obvious if you look at even my following with Living Ardently, the demographic, it's majority females. And it's like 70-30, I think, is a split. And you know, we post the idea of like our post is to have encouraging like quotes that are not necessarily maybe from saints or Catholics or anything like that. It can just be from normal people that are encouraging you in a way that Christ would encourage you in times of distress or doubts or things like that. And it's a beautiful community, because like you'll see in the comments of some of the posts that like women lifting each other up, you know, and it's a very positive thing, and I love that. And so I love seeing like all the different accounts that are doing this on Instagram. And you know, when I see this side of social media, it's like, I don't know, like whenever somebody disregards social media, it's just like, you just haven't seen this side. You haven't seen the community and the things that people are able to do through just the power of posting posting something, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I always tell my teens, like, don't get off social media, just cater it to what, you know, what's going to help you grow closer to Christ.
Yeah.
You know? And so so with Instagram, was it something that just kind of, like, you know, was it just synonymous with your blog, or did the blog come out, like did it follow the blog, or how did that go?
Yeah, so I think I started the two on the same day, because I like, my marketing brain was just like, oh, you got a blog, you need an Instagram to get people to the blog. How are people supposed to know about it? So that was kind of like they were synonymous. But I actually had known a larger Catholic influencer, and I guess she had seen, I posted about it on my family Instagram, and she had seen it, and so she promoted my Instagram on her page, and so that was kind of like what blew me up. So actually I've just found that my Instagram got more than my blog did, especially because blogs it's just long, and it was a lot of work, and I was a college student, so then I kind of just moved almost solely to Instagram, especially recently. Because I just like don't have time for the blog, but also I just get way more engagement on Instagram. So
right.
Yeah.
You gotta put the effort into the places that are gonna get the most engagement. And that's the thing, like even with just kind of thinking about marketing side of like Instagram, we just had a whole last episode before this one was like a almost 2-hour long episode, maybe it was 2 hours long, about how to start a brand. And it was a great conversation, also promoting our giveaway that we did in the past. Yeah, so I just noticed that, you know, with starting businesses like this, like like the thing that Instagram could do is make our posts searchable, because then like that would increase, like if say somebody wants to talk, you know, like learn about modesty outside of just the hashtags, you know, because like there's so many hashtag over those things. But if you wanted to go, say you go on just another handmaiden and search like modesty, and then like all your posts that had the word modesty in it and the caption could come up, Instagram, I'm just saying, you would excel.
Just gonna put that out there for the Instagram community.
I mean, I don't even care I get royalties for that. Just
do it for me.
Right. But yeah, so it's just like, you know, a really cool thing. And blog sites are amazing, because you can do that, right? You can search a topic and find it on your blog, but you can just do that on Instagram. So Instagram does have like the better engagement, but I think that's just one thing that I always think about. So you started on this, speaking like continuing on the conversation about Instagram. You started the series earlier this year, called "Becoming a Saint," right? And so, the idea behind it, you want to share with us the idea behind it.
Yeah, totally. So it's always getting reformed depending on my prayer that morning. But it started with like I said, I'm a total theology nerd, and so I have been really passionate about I don't believe things unless I I don't want to say I believe the Catholic faith unless I understand what the Catholic faith says and I agree with it. And so I've become like really passionate about that. So total theology nerd. And I realized though, like the more that I've studied theology, the more that I've been able to like apply like living a good Catholic life into my daily life. So it's like the studying of it helps me move into action. And I was realizing that there was kind of a lack of that in the field. Like there's a lot of people sharing personal testimonies and things like that on Instagram, but there wasn't a lot of like real theology, why the church believes this, and then how do we apply that to our daily lives. And so that was like the original kind of idea behind it. But recently I'm realizing too that I also wanted to I realized it was almost too theological in my first episode. And so I was kind of like figuring out how to change that up. And I realized that it did need the theology needed personal testimony to boot and vulnerability. So it's now this process of following, like, this is my process of becoming a saint. This is like the theology that I'm applying to like my life. This is where I'm seeing issues or where I'm having to like work on the process of discernment of spirits. But what does that actually look like in my life?
Right.
So then it could be like, how can you then take from my story and my experience to become a saint and like take what I've learned and apply it to your own life? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is really neat because it's something that, even on here, like I'm a very like, I want to hear about how people are living ardently. I want to hear their story. I want to hear what they're doing and their as our overall goal as towards the kingdom, right? Serving the kingdom. Like, what are you doing for part of that? And I get to hear a lot of these different ways people are doing and seeing them, and like whether the Catholic Instagram influencers or if they're like podcasters or however, YouTubers. It's really cool to see the different niches and or shop, like way that they go about things. And, that is something that is really unique that I think a lot of us, especially us podcasters, don't go out and share like the theo behind it always. We do a Q&A with Jarrell from The Living Person. For those of you who are new, we do those monthly, and we get an opportunity to get into some deeper theology mixed with some personal testimonies. But like you said, there's not many of us there, and there's not many of us who are doing it intentionally. So,
and just really like cool. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, yeah, go ahead.
Or just like the fact that like every human person is called to be a saint. Like I feel like we put saints up on these pedestals, but like saints were just us, but they've just done well and then they're in heaven. Like, you know what I mean? Right. Like we all, if you're in heaven, you're a saint. And so like you were saying, like these personal testimonies, it's just the process of like, how do I get to heaven? And that's what we're all called to do. Sorry. Just random.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I just had, I was like, just before this, like between 9 and 5, I'm a youth minister, like I said, and we just had a youth night, our monthly youth night. We had Meg Hunter Kilmer come and do a talk on sainthoods, and she like shared all these awesome saints that are not like the typical ones that we already know about, like all these unknown canonized saints from different parts, and those like Carlo Acutis. He's like the one that was born in 1991, and he's about to be canonized in October. Like super cool. He like had a PlayStation and loved Pokemon. Like, oh, that's just so awesome.
I know, it's awesome.
Just seeing that and knowing that we could be living amongst living saints. Yeah, and it's not so far fetched anymore. And so it's just really cool to see that series that you're doing, like kind of live that out at the same time, And like you said, like we all are called to be saints because we want to get to heaven, right? All like lowercase saints. Like those capital S saints are the ones who get canonized and recognized by the church. You know, just because we didn't doesn't mean we're not saints either.
Yeah, exactly.
Heaven's the goal. If heaven's the goal, then sainthood's the goal, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Literally.
Cool. So we're gonna come back to that in a little bit after our break, because you've shared some of the on your Becoming a Saint series, some really awesome stuff, and we'll dive into those a little bit later. But we'll take a break right here. All right, we're back more with Lizzy from Just a Handmaiden on Instagram. Make sure you follow her Instagram account, and if you're into blogs, go check out her blog at justahandmaiden.com, right? I know she just said that she's not really much on there anymore, but it's still a really nice.
There's still a lot of
website.
blogs on there.
Yeah, it's a really well-made site. So,
thank you.
All right, so just before the break, we were talking about your Becoming a Saint series, and one of your, maybe it's your most recent one, maybe the second most recent one that you posted, was you becoming vulnerable about fighting pornography, and I think that was my first one that I saw, and I was like, whoa, this is really good. Like, I love this because you got really vulnerable there and talked about how you are fighting it. And, it always is portrayed as just a guy thing, and it's just not. And it's not the case. I've had friends who have admitted to it. I have teens who have admitted to it. And it's something that it's plaguing not just men, right? And I think it's important to talk about. And it was really beautiful to see you talk about it. And you weren't even you weren't breaking a sweat at all. And I was like, this girl is so cool. Like I love it.
Grace and grace alone.
So it was, what made you decide that this was something that you wanted to talk about on the pod? I mean, not the pod, your series.
Yeah, totally. It's something that I've shared about pornography on my blog in the past. But it was more of a past tense thing. Like, when I struggled with this is what I did. Because it's easier and it's not as scary, because it's like, oh, this is a past thing that I struggled with and now I've overcome it. So it's a lot easier to talk about it with people. Right. And so, and I honestly, I at the time I did think it was past tense, and then quarantine hit. Right. And I realized that the devil likes to tell us that we're alone, and he likes to keep us silenced and ashamed of our sins. And I realized how much shame was on my heart, and I knew when I felt that meant there was way more people out there who felt that exact shame. And so I don't know, I was just really convicted that I needed to share it, and I kept so I've only have 4 episodes up right now on Becoming a Saint, and it's because I'll film something and then I'll hate it and I'll delete it. And so it's so I've filmed 10 different videos, but I keep deleting them. And I knew in my heart that God was calling me to do something like this and to share something like this. And I was too afraid, so I just kept putting it off and putting it off. And then one morning, I don't know, I was just kind of no, this is silly. And I'm not going to let the devil stop me from doing something that I know God is calling me to do and God wants me to talk about. So I'm not going to let fear kind of stop me from accomplishing what I this whole series is about becoming a saint, and becoming a saint is listening to the will of God. And so if I'm going to practice what I preach, then I got to do this. So that was the big motivator. And I don't know, I just kind of sat down. I thought about what I wanted to talk about, but I didn't really prep anything or write anything, and I just kind of started talking about it, and I just wanted it to be real and vulnerable, and just present. This is what I am struggling with now, and you are not alone if you're struggling with it now. versus like I'm this person who's overcome it. Let me like tell you my story about how like I'm perfect now. You know, it's almost because so many people who are in pornography, it's such a feeling of despair and like you're never going to overcome it. And you're always going to struggle with it and all of that. And so to know that like you're not alone in the fight, but there's someone who's like fighting and isn't in despair, like that's huge. And like isn't ashamed or isn't like, I think that like I never had that and I wish I did. So I want to be that for someone else.
Right. And it's a thing too to feel like so like you said, like just being ashamed of it, but like there comes a point where you just start to feel like I guess I don't want to just use I don't like using the word depressed and just like lightly, but like it just makes you feel like desolate, like there's no way, like I've tried every method, there's no way I'm getting rid of this. Like, and that's like letting him win, the devil, you know. Like when you start to give up on hope, like that's it, you know. And that's the thing that, you know, people feel like once there's like there's like no easy fix, you know, like there's no easy fix, there's no one fix. And I think you said that in your in that episode, like there's not one way that will cure this or like cure, you know, like one thing that will help you get rid of this like issue. And everyone has a different journey, and it's true. Yeah, truly. Just like your journey won't be the same as the other girl, or my journey is not going to be the same as the other guy. Yeah. And that's what there's a one thing that we had at our university was a group of guys like there was like hundreds of guys. I went to a Catholic university in Florida, Ave Maria University, and there was I don't know if it was hundreds, but there was a lot of guys in this group chat, like a group me, that would just like text whenever they feel tempted, or like or if they fell or things like that, and somebody would be like, you know, hey man, I'm like, is anybody free to hang out right now? I just need to be away. Like I'm feeling very tempted, and it was just such that vulnerability in the fact that these many men were okay to admit, like I struggle with this was huge.
Yeah. I heard an analogy one time that essentially like pornography addiction for men, it's like you're all in prison, but like you're in prison together, like you're in a general cell. But for women, it's like you're in prison, but you're in you're stuck in isolation. And so it is interesting because in the church, pornography has almost become this like camaraderie thing for men. Like it's all these men coming together and it's spoken about during men's session. And so all these men are like, wow, I'm not alone. Look at this famous Catholic male speaker. He struggled with it too. And we're not alone. And so they like leave and they're like brought together. Whereas women, I feel like there's such like an expectation of purity placed on women that like women are so afraid to speak about it. And so like group chats like that, I've never heard of a group chat of hundreds of women or coming together to like be like, hey, I need help. But I alone, since posting that video on my Instagram, have had thousands of messages from women, like thousands. Wow. So I just like know, so it exists and it's out there. But for some reason, like there's this like shame and this stigma for women struggling with it. And so it's like so essential for more women to like come out and talk about it. Yeah. Because there is so much despair and loneliness with it.
Definitely. And I was telling you before, like it was the only other speaker I've ever heard about. I didn't even hear the talk. I heard that this Catholic speaker or musician had opened up about it. Audrey Assad, she had opened about it and like shared her story at our university. And I was like, dang, that's awesome. Like, I mean, no guys were allowed, but like, it was so good.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was like only women in there. And like, I remember seeing the crowds of women coming back and like in complete tears and like praying for each other. And I was like, this is, whatever happened there was spirit-led, God-filled, and like wonderful. And you know, like a lot of us guys are like, damn, I just want to know, like, you know, like we're just nosy.
What's going on? Yep, that's like, how women feel about every men's talk. Yeah, and I think actually 2 years ago. I was at Seek a year ago, whatever. And that I'll never forget going into, they called it like a purity talk for women. So it was like, you're just kind of going to purity talk. And it ended up being, it was a talk all about pornography and masturbation addiction. And it was the most packed room of like the entire week. Essentially, besides like the huge sessions, like of the breakout session, it was the most filled room. And it was like it was like the only time I've ever heard pornography and masturbation specifically addressed to women in my entire life. And I've been to pretty much every Catholic event there is. So, yeah.
That's
so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I think we just need so much more of that. And so when I saw you become so vulnerable on Instagram and an Instagram story, I was like, wow, this is so needed. So needed. And like there's teens I want to send it to, like that I know, are struggling with, like that I might know that struggle with it, or know that they haven't opened up to me and asked for prayers about it. It's just like, it's hard because I'm not, we like you said, there's not the same community out there. But I told those people that, it's amazing that you already opened up, and shared. You didn't just share with me, you shared with the group. And it's an amazing thing to be able to be bold enough to do that. And so that's the first step, being able to ask for prayers and know that it's a thing. And so I think that what would be fruitful for those who might be listening that might be struggling with it, what is some advice for the ladies that you might have? And then I'll share some advice for the men. Yeah,
totally. The first thing, I wrote an entire paper on the difference for pornography addiction for men and women, and why overcoming it is different.
That's amazing.
Anyway,
share it.
The biggest thing that I have learned from personal experience and from research is ladies, we need to track our menstrual cycle. I'm very fearless about talking about this.
I'm unfazed.
Perfect. Okay, so men are like the same all the time hormonally. Women are not. We are a roller coaster. And so sometimes we're dry and sometimes we're not, okay?
Yeah.
And so it's super important because like when you're overcoming pornography addiction, you're like, wow, I haven't been tempted in 3 weeks. I'm killing it. Like, woo. And then all of a sudden you're like crazy tempted and you fall and you're like, I'm a horrible person. This is how was I so weak? And you don't even realize that, those 3 weeks passed. And then all of a sudden you were ovulating, which is like the peak of your body and brain saying, let's make a baby. And literally like everything in you was like, we are primed and ready to make a baby. And so of course you're going to be a lot more tempted while you're ovulating, and sometimes on your period, like depending on hormones. So it's like, it's super important for women to track our cycle, because then we know when we're ovulating, okay, for these 4 or 5 days, whatever it is, I need to be a lot more alert. I need to be a lot more aware, and like aware of my brain and where I'm letting and what I'm letting myself watch. Because maybe this TV show doesn't affect me when I'm not ovulating, but when I'm ovulating, this TV show is a huge trigger.
Big.
So that's like really important. And then another tip, I think this is with anyone, but women, we have to be really alert to what we're watching and we're reading, because movies and books can be huge triggers. There's a lot of like romantic books written for women. And sometimes they're very explicitly pornographic, but other times they're not. They're very like relationship focused, and there's like a little bit of it in there. But that's like a huge tempter for women, because it's anything, a lot of times pornography addiction is about craving relationship for women. We're craving to be united to someone. It's not as much about like objectifying the other or just using the other for sexual pleasure. It's the desire to be united to another in that way and to be one with that person. And so we have to be really aware of like the romantic books that we're watching, romantic movies we're watching, and all of that. Because sometimes there might not even be any sex in a movie at all, but because I was feeling single after watching a super romantic movie, I felt more tempted to fall, or I did fall into it. So like things like that are super important. Practical tips: I leave my laptop out of my room at night, and I plug my phone in on the other side of the room. That's just like a nightly practical tip so that I don't just like reach for it. And so it's like that extra step that I have to like get out of bed. You know what I mean? And it's like, so, I'm like,
it's also good for like alarms.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. It's a good alarm. I sleep through my alarms all the time. So it's actually like a good, like, it's literally like that process of like, I'm tempted right now, but I would have to literally get out of bed and walk to my phone. Absolutely not. Like, you know what I mean? It's like embarrassing. And then I think with masturbation in particular, that's a hard one because it's all in your brain, and women can have very, very, very active imaginations. So I would recommend, like, I get up and like go for walks, or I like go to the bathroom, or just like little like things that be aware, track your cycle, and then like have things that you can do when the temptation arises. Like, I bought a Jesus stuffed animal thing. Like, it's literally awesome. Like a Jesus person. Like, you could Google Jesus stuffed animal person. And I sleep with that because there's no way in heck that I'm going to be doing that while I'm holding Jesus going to bed. Like, it's just like, no. It's just that, like, it's like, Jesus is always watching, but like, he's really watching right now.
He's really right next to me.
So there's just like little things that like you like can put in place to help you. So like I've gotten to a point where I've like gone on an online shop, which like isn't a healthy coping mechanism, but I much rather would have like not. I much rather like have these $45 jeans that like I wear a decent amount now versus like not falling into masturbation. So like funny. I'd spend $45 any night. You know what I mean, to not do that. So
that's awesome. That's some good stuff. Like, as for the guys, I think that, like we said, like it is pretty much like a communal cell. I think I think it was 8 or 9 out of 10 men have struggled with it at this point now. I think that's what the numbers look like at this point. Don't fact check. You can fact check me. I don't think it's true, but I don't know the exact number. I think I would believe it if it was true. I forget the exact numbers, but.
Yeah, I think it's like 1 in 3 for men and 1 in 5 or 4 for women.
Yeah, it's getting higher. I thought that, at some point that I think we all do, like when we first start, that it's something that we only struggle alone. Especially if you were really like exposed to pornography at such a young age, like myself. Like I was in grade school when I was exposed to it, and so it's something that. Like, if it's always been part of it, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. And if you relapse after having years of, like, not, it's okay. Like, you're good. Like, shake the dust off your feet, get up, go to confession, start again, right? But the most important thing, I think, like, for me, I have a friend who lives in D.C., and we are, like, accountability partners. I'll check in on him. We used to do this thing weekly or daily check-ins, but it just gets a lot. So then it became text or weekly, then it's like monthly. Now it's just every now and then. And we kind of are at this point, like we're able to just like, hey, like I need someone to distract me. It doesn't, and they know, and we'll both like stop what we're doing if it's not work related and talk and chat or do something. Having somebody like that for us guys is huge. Like we like to do things and try to fix things on our own, and this is something we can't do on our own. Absolutely. Like, and swallow your pride.
literally. And I think it's very similar for women in that, like, I think accountability partners are something that are so important, but every woman wants to be able to, like, overcome this by herself so that she doesn't have to tell anyone that this is something that she struggled with. Like, I remember when God first gave me the grace to stop, because there was no way I could have done it. I could have stopped without overpowering grace in the beginning. And now, like, after 4 years, it's like coming back and God's like having me put in the hard work of healing the wounds that created this addiction. But the first time around, I was hyped because I was like, yes, I overcame this addiction. Me and Jesus did it, and I don't have to tell anyone about it. And so I didn't even have to tell anyone. How perfect.
Right.
But now I'm realizing that like, no, this is something that like I need an accountability partner for. And so like my best friend and I are like each other's accountability partners. And like that has been a huge, like we'll just text each other and be like for this person, it's like anxiety. So it's like, I'm feeling anxious right now. I definitely need prayers because I'm struggling, or can you FaceTime real quick? And so I think accountability partners are huge for women as well. And then like you were saying, confession, like I'm not kidding you, every single time. Like don't like it was at a point where I was going to confession like twice a week. Like it's
same.
like it like I
Same.
every single time, and I guarantee you, if you go to confession every single time you do anything, pornography, masturbation, sex with a significant other, whatever it is, you will stop because you do not want to go back to that priest. Like it well, one, obviously the grace of confession, of course, but also just like your own pride is like I can't
just, like,
go back to him for a third time this week. I can't
start looking up
do
different churches for different confession
I don't have
hours.
time to go to confession tomorrow, so I literally can't. So if you get in the mindset of like I have to go to confession when I do this, then it like it totally changes everything. Or like I can't receive the Eucharist until I go to confession after I've done this.
That is the worst.
That's the worst. It's the worst when it's Sunday and you're with your family.
It's what souls feel in purgatory, I feel like.
Yes. You're literally like, you're sitting there, it's Sunday, your whole family goes and receives the Eucharist, and you don't receive the Eucharist, and you're like, everyone knows, and this stinks, and all I want is to receive Jesus right now, all I want, and I know I'm not in the right place to receive him, and that sucks. And I don't want to be like this next Sunday or Monday when I go to daily mass, so I got to go to confession now. So,
don't receive while that, because that's another mortal sin. And now that you know that, if you do that anyway, and you'll be like, I'm gonna get confessed anyway, that's another mortal sin. So just letting you guys know. Just
letting you know, you cannot receive the Eucharist if you have masturbated and or watched pornography. Yeah. Now you know you can't do it.
Now it's a mortal sin if you know.
Until you go to confession. Once you go to confession, you're chilling. You're so good.
We're vibing now.
We're vibing, yeah, for sure.
So another thing though for the guys, there's this Matt Fradd, anything Matt Fradd puts out, amazing. So good. You should read his book, on the pornography. Also there's so many great resources. I will link them below, like Fight the New Drug. There's just so much stuff. But the one thing that Matt Fradd put out recently, is this thing called Strive. And it's for men only, which I kind of...
He's working on a women's one right now.
He is?
Yep, I was talking to him about it.
So
yeah,
good.
He spoke at my school, and so I kind of was talking with him about it, and he was like, yeah, we're working on the women's one.
Amazing.
His wife. And,
amazing. I am so excited for you all to have that, because it was so good for me. I did it this year, I think it was last year, like late last year sometime, with my accountability partner, and it was just so healing. And you can do it at your own pace, at your own time, and it's 30 days. And yeah, it's just, there are such great stories to hear from different men, but also like just the way there's like a community that you get to experience there. My friend did it before me. My other friend did it before me, and he said that, like him and this priest and a few other guys were in this group chat now, and they do something like, kind of similar to what I said about my university. And I was like, that's so cool. But these people have never met.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So
it's almost awesome easier too to have an accountability partner who you don't know. Like, you don't have to tell your family, like, yeah.
So try that out if you haven't had that opportunity, and I'll link some more resources. But the same practical tips that that Lizzy gave is what I would also give to you all. It is imperative to not be on your phone for too long. Like imperative. Like period. Like just get off
like, YouTube.
If that means you need to put like screen time, like. Don't lay down with your phone. Like, things like that. Like, just don't. Yep. It's just easier that way. It tempts you less.
Ladies, delete YouTube off your phone. You know what I'm talking about. I don't even have to explain that. Delete YouTube off your phone.
And, like, just being off of your phone in times where, like, I don't know, when you're alone or in places where you have privacy, Like, that's a huge thing. I mean, for people who live alone and, like, are post-college and have no roommates, then that could be a little hard because you're alone all the time, obviously. But, I don't know, just limit yourself and know yourself and understand that temptations will come. So there's a ton more like resources. I'll link in the description below.
Totally,
because
yeah.
it is something that you're not doing alone. Okay, stop thinking that's BS. And yeah, we here with you, fam. So besides, doing these things that you do, like, what is your overall goal? Who is your who do you hope to inspire with your Instagram?
Good question. I think my goal with just Handmaiden in general is for women to like know their dignity and worth, and then to like live that out, because so few women know their worth and so few women live that out, and even fewer women live it out, and I myself included. Like I am in this as well. Like I just think I am my own goal.
Right.
But like I just think that there are so many wounds that women have from society, from men, from families, from other women, and to spread some healing and in some way, or like to help, or really to bring women back to the healer himself, is kind of the goal always.
That's awesome. That's so great. And we need it more. I mean, like, the same the same demographic that you have is not going to be the same demographic viewers of a basic Catholic, like there's so many people out there in the world, so many people looking for stuff like this, and so what corner you are, continue to do the good stuff, work of the Lord,
Yeah, totally.
And so, like, your last few things here is, like, what is your message to those who might be struggling with porn, or maybe people who are, even those who are, like, trying to get into ethical fashion and modesty, just in general? Like, you can do both in different messages. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, they're probably different messages, but I would say for people who are struggling with porn, first and foremost, like, do not despair. And I know that's a very hard, that's easier said than done, but like, do not despair, do not despair, do not despair. Run to God, but more than that, like, run to people and get like help. Like, a lot of people need therapy to overcome a pornography addiction, and there's like no shame in that. Like, like that is a good thing to do. Like, that is a saintly thing to do, to step outside of yourself and say you need help. And like take the time and like pray every novena you can, like just dive into your relationship with God and like allow him to like speak truth into your heart about like who you are. Because like you're not dirty, like you're not dirty. You are loved and you are pure. You are not, sinful. You are not impure. Like, you are loved and you are a child of God. Like, allow God to speak those truths into your heart in prayer. And I think that'll be a huge help in overcoming this pornography addiction, because so much of addiction is like, addiction comes from other wounds, right? Like, I think addiction is a symptom of another disease. It's not the disease itself. Me personally, at least. So like, I know it's, so like,
amazing.
I think that like there's a root of feeling unloved, feeling unwanted, feeling whatever. Yeah. And so like, that is the disease in my heart, and pornography addiction is the symptom. Right. And so like, now I have to like work on healing the disease, go to a spiritual director, go to a friend, go to a therapist. And like, I can guarantee it's like almost like pulling out the roots versus just constantly like whacking the weeds. Instead of just constantly whacking the weeds, pull out the roots so the weeds don't grow back.
Right.
So that's for pornography. And then for getting into modesty and ethical fashion, I think a huge thing is like, one, just advice, watch the documentary, The True Cost, and then just kind of start educating yourselves on the impact of like what our fashion choices have on our, not just our environment, but more importantly on the people who are affected by it, the people who make your clothing. Like, your clothing is not made by all machines. Your clothing is made by a human person, and they deserve just as much dignity as anyone else, and they deserve equal pay. Like, they deserve way more than they're being paid. And so it's like, ethical fashion is more expensive. Why? Because we're paying people a living wage. Like, it's worth it. So it's like keeping that in mind, and just dressing in a way that like dignifies yourself, and dignifies the people who make your clothing. So like you're buying ethical clothing, so you're dignifying those people, and then you're clothing yourself in something that dignifies yourself. So, and that's when modesty and ethical fashion come together, because it's all just about the dignity of the human person. Like at the end of the day, upholding it, myself and those around me. And so, yeah, I would say that's
Period.
That's it.
Period. That's awesome. So that's really great. So, you know, like I think overall, like entirely, right? You are like, if you know your dignity as a human person, you know, both of these things make sense, you know, like, like fighting the fight against pornography and masturbation, as well as ethical modesty and ethical fashion. I think the root of both of those things could just be down to the dignity of you as a person, as the human person, period. You know that it is huge. You have so much dignity. That's good. So now the last thing here is shout out some Instagram accounts that you want the listeners to follow.
Okay. Caroline Rose Owens is one of my really good friends.
Yes.
I adore her. We actually met through Instagram, and we've only met in person like twice. But we literally text all the time, and she's incredible, and she's doing really cool things.
Well, she was formerly, what was it?
The college Catholic, I think.
Yeah.
And then she graduated, and she was like, who am I? Rebranded. Yep. So her, and then a woman named Lillian Fallon.
Oh, yeah.
She's really cool. Oh, that's awesome. She does a lot about theology. She calls it theology of style, where she incorporates theology of the body and fashion. And it's incredible. And she has the most unique sense of style I've ever seen. So, yeah. And so she's awesome. And so she gives a lot of fashion advice, but it's a lot of like, yes, okay, she has her own personal style that like maybe not everyone relates to, but she has so much on like you developing your own personal style. And so I highly recommend that. And it's all modest and just really beautiful and ethical as well. Yeah. Who else?
Yeah, I went to school with her actually.
No, oh yeah, she went to Ave.
Yeah.
She was my boss. Okay, what else? Who else? Honestly, I don't follow a lot of Catholic influencers only because I struggle with comparison. So I often go on my blog and tell people to unfollow me if they struggle with comparing me, and like, because it's like you should not be like confessing Instagram, like judging Instagrammers or comparing yourself to Instagrammers in confession. So so I have a comparison issue. So there's that. So I would say those are the two. Oh, West Coast Catholic, she's really cool.
Oh yeah. Mari.
Yeah, those are my three.
Awesome. Those are your three. They're awesome there too, because they make such beautifully made rosaries. Love.
They're awesome. Them. I have one.
Me too. I think I lost beads on it though, because I carried it around so much. Just the Catholic things.
Catholic things.
Yeah. Thank you, Lizzy, for coming on and being vulnerable and just being factual about all the things. So thank you again. Lizzy
I know sometimes I get a little too nerdy with facts.
3% gonna die.
I'm at that. I'm like, just so you know, I'm at 3%. I don't want to.
All right. So thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Make sure you go follow her at Just a Handmaiden. Links in the description below of the podcast and the notes. And follow her blog if you want to go read some of her old past blogs. And yeah, thanks again for listening, y'all. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. I was like, wait, why am I saying that? Oh yeah, I'm on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your podcast app wherever you're listening. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review and a rating, because that helps us get it out to more people. I really hate this thing and I can't wait for it to go away. God bless you guys. Thanks for listening, and I hope you guys got something out of this. And yeah, until next time, keep living ardently. Peace.
Peace.
So awesome. We made
Perfect.
it. We did it.